Here are 10 tips to pass the California bar exam on your first try and eventually get one of these. Let's go. Hi, my name is Leah and I'm an attorney based in Sacramento Bay Area. If you're watching this, congratulations on your journey and for making it this far. These strategies for before, during, and after the bar exam helped me and some friends with whom I shared these tips pass on our first try. Tip number 1, be intentional with your study supplies and resources. Especially at the beginning of bar prep, it can get pretty overwhelming trying to determine and decide which study supplies to invest not only your time but money in. Bar prep materials can be pretty costly, so trying to figure out what to actually invest your money and time, the most precious resource, especially during bar prep, is of utmost importance. When I studied for the bar in summer 2019, I stuck with 5 or 4.5 main resources. One was Barbary. I was fortunate enough to complete the Barbary bar prep course for free as I was a student representative during law school, and I found their structured schedule to be really helpful, especially at the start of bar prep when I didn't really know what was going on, kind of having analysis paralysis of where to even start. And having Barbary walk you through what to expect as the days and weeks and months of bar prep progressed was super helpful. And as I progressed through my own journey of bar prep and spoke with some mentors and friends of mine who took the California bar exam before I did, they shared some of their resources with me, one of which was Make It Your Last Time by Brian Hahn, who in my opinion created the holy grail of California bar prep, or at least for me when I was preparing for the bar in summer 2019. I really resonated with how Brian, the creator and founder of Make It Your Last Time, which I'll drop the link to his website in the description, but how he structures his outlines and attack sheets for the essays were very easy to follow and pretty much encapsulated what I believe everything that you need to know for the bar exam, or at least the rule statements. The black letter law didn't make it any more complex than it already is. So very highly recommend Make It Your Last Time by Brian Hahn. 3, starting to practice for the bar was Emmanuel MBE, the multi-state bar exam, the multiple choice section of the California bar, which is day 2. And the Emmanuel MBE, in my opinion, was most reflective of what you'll actually encounter day 2 of the bar exam with the different multiple choice questions. The Emmanuel MBEs were pretty similar to what I ended up encountering day of, and honestly, taking the MBE portion, the multiple choice, I was kind of feeling skeptical of myself because I, TBH, thought that some of the questions were too easy, and I was getting sus and doubting myself whether it's either, oh, I'm doing well, this is just going really badly. And I think Emmanuel MBE really prepared me to do quite well on the multiple choice section of the bar. 4 is, of course, trying to do past sample exams on the California bar website, which out of all the different study supplies and resources, samples that you would encounter, is the most representative of what you would see day of, because it's coming straight from the source, straight from the California bar examiners themselves. So going through recent, even not so recent bar exams and sample top student answers is super helpful to try to get a better idea of what to expect day of. And my 4.5 that I borrowed my friends, shout out, critical pass flashcards. So having those on your phone or flipping through them when you have the time or downtime when you're not bar prepping, but kind of having the anxiety to still be doing something. The critical pass flashcards were also pretty nice to have as a review of the different rule statements, black letter law, but I personally didn't invest in it, but rather borrowed my friend's account. But it was still a pretty good and helpful resource. So in summary, we have the 5 study supplies for your California bar exam. 1 is your bar prep course that you've already signed up for, whether it be Barbie, Themis, something else. 2, Brian Hahn's Make It Your Last Time. 3, Emmanuel's MBEs for practice questions on the multiple choice section of the bar exam. 4, past essays, past questions on the California bar exam website. And 5, if you have a homie who's willing to hook you up, the critical pass flashcards. Tip number 2, set up and stick to a schedule that works for you. So as you will see, the bar prep course that you sign up for will schedule a calendar for you for each day of bar prep, usually typically about 2 months in total leading up to the bar exam itself. And at first, I kind of blindly followed that schedule, and pretty overwhelming, especially at first, because it was moving pretty rapidly, and at the time I just wanted to know everything, and I couldn't move on to the next section without mastering or at least having the previous section down. So I was really trying to follow the Barbary calendar or schedule religiously, and I did for a few weeks until, as I mentioned, I discovered some different resources that ended up also really working well for me. So while you can have that schedule or calendar structured by your bar prep course, you can use that as a guide. Don't fear also trying to set up your own schedule. So for example, month 1, you can use that to study and review outlines, trying to get a firm grasp of the rule statements and black letter law that you will need for the bar exam, and making your own outlines and essentially doing this studying part of bar prep for month 1. And month 2, you can transition into doing more practice questions, so more practice essays, more practice MBEs, the multiple choice. And that's one thing or one advice, note to self, that I wish I would have done is practice more, because as they always say, practice makes perfect, right? And so month 2, I would recommend just diving into practice problems, even when you don't feel like you're ready for them, like how I did. I wanted to know more about the law. But by month 2, you more or less know the amount of law that you would need to succeed for the bar exam. So just do it, Nike, right? As you continue doing practice questions, essays, and multiple choice, you'll start to pick up on the patterns and rule statements that you'll begin to distill and instill in your brain. So even if you don't feel like you have a confident grasp of all the rule statements just yet, diving into practice problems will help you understand the law, memorize the law, because in doing and in practicing is where we pick up our areas of improvement, what gaps in knowledge there may be. Following a schedule that works best for you and how you learn is another thing to set you up for success on the California bar. A modification that I did to the Barbary study schedule was, instead of dedicating all my time to the big Barbary outline, I would use the mini convisor, which is the abridged version of their outline that just distills all the rule statements and black letter law. I actually used that significantly more than I did the big full outline. So what I would do is I would take the mini convisor, the mini Barbary outline, and use that to structure my own outlines that I typed up, just because for me, having to write and recall what I learned helped ingrain it in my brain. So I would use the mini convisor for my daily studies, and if there was a concept or a section that I didn't fully understand, I knew that I didn't have a full grasp on it, I would then use the big outline, as it has more examples, more explanation to fill in the gaps. Next tip, prepare with self-care. During bar prep, I was lucky enough to be able to treat it like my full-time job, so that I was grinding from 7 a.m., 6 a.m. to around 7 p.m., 12 hours of bar prep. And one thing that I am grateful for, and I would do again if I had to go through this process all over again, is to continue dedicating some time throughout the bar prep day to exercise, to work out, whether it be for a walk, yoga Pilates, which if you're interested in, we have some on this channel. So having that time to unwind your mind and body just does wonders. So for example, during my bar prep, I would either work out first thing in the morning before grinding on for the day, or in the middle of the day, to kind of give myself a brain break and come back feeling more energized, more focused. So however you choose to structure your bar prep, I highly recommend devoting some time to unwind your mind and prepare with self-care by getting into some physical activity to give your brain a break. They always say that bar prep is a marathon, and it truly is. So for the last 2 weeks of bar prep leading up to the day of, I would take time off. I would give my body and mind a rest, and know that everything leading up to these last 2 weeks, you've already put in the sweat equity, you've grinded hard. So these last 2 weeks are your opportunity to rest and recover your mind and body. For me, when I was studying for the bar the last 2 weeks, I actually would take more frequent breaks. So instead of doing the 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. 12-hour grind, I would study from maybe 7 a.m. to 3 or 4 p.m. and use the rest of the afternoon to Netflix and chill, but actually really Netflix. I was really into, at the time, Beyonce's Coachella performance had dropped, Baychella, and that really gave me the confidence to slay bar prep day. So I watched that on repeat basically for the last 2 weeks of bar prep. So during bar prep, I didn't really watch TV or hang out with my friends as much. But the last 2 weeks, yeah, I definitely allowed myself more breaks, would watch TV, Beychella, and also my cousin Vinny, which is a law court comedy, a classic. Those two were what I used to unwind my mind. Next tip, as much as possible, stay near your bar venue. That avoids having to deal with stressful traffic in the morning and allows you the opportunity to just roll out of bed, grab a quick and light breakfast, definitely nothing that will upset your tummy during the few hours of bar, and walk on over. Take a leisurely walk over to the bar venue. When I took the bar in summer 2019, it was at the Oakland Convention Center. And lodging in the area definitely fill up fast, so make sure to start browsing accommodations as soon as you figure out when and where you'll be staying, and trying to see which options are best so that you're able to just walk over to where you're taking the bar. Next tip for day of is dress for success. And dressing for success for the bar is in layers and comfy clothing and shoes. So dressing in layers is pretty important because you may get to the venue and it's warmer or cooler than what you're used to. So being able to get yourself comfy so that you can do your best and not have to worry about being too cold or too hot will be imperative to performing your best on the days of. When I took the bar, I'm pretty sure I wore sweats and my cousin's comfy Uniqlo jacket, which I think I lost on the second day, sorry cuz, and some Jordan 1s. And then that allowed me to feel comfy and not have to think about any tags or getting sweaty, so that I could just focus on doing well on the bar exam. Next tip for during the bar is wear an analog watch and earplugs. So an analog watch is super helpful to get you to keep track of time, because as you'll see with the bar and with everything that's fun, time flies. So having something to glance down and do a time check is optimal to making sure that you don't run out of time on anything. And the bar, the California bar at least, doesn't allow digital watches. It has to be the analog. So maybe practice on knowing how to read an analog watch. And earplugs, because if you, like me, are easily distracted by people's furious typing and having earplugs to focus on yourself and what you're doing is also super helpful. Next tip for a day of success is, if you can't remember for the life of you a rule statement or black letter law, make it up. So during the essay, if you can't remember the exact rule statement, what it's supposed to say, make it up to the best of your ability, because even the California bar examiners say that what they focus on is your legal analysis. So it's not a game of memorization and testing who has the most impeccable rule statements, though knowing the rule statements is still definitely helpful. But if you are caught in a bind and you can't remember what the rule statement is, make one up and use your made-up rule statement to apply the facts of your case or do your legal analysis and come up with your conclusion. As an example, during the first day essay portion of the bar exam, I vividly remember there was an essay where I could not, for the life of me, remember what the rule statement was. I hope I issue spotted what the essay was about, but I just couldn't make that bridge of what the rule statement was. So I made one up to the best of my ability and used that to apply the facts of the case to your rule statement and ultimately come up with a conclusion. Next tip for day of is use headings in your essays. So as you type up your essay, use headings for your subsections. Not only do bar exam graders love it because they're able to follow your flow, but it also kind of looks nice aesthetically. So for example, you issue spot your essay, you can then write or use as your first heading, what are Parker's remedies in this case? So that'll also help you structure your answer, and you can practice this by outlining essays as you do your bar prep. So you can outline essays and do just that. Make up headings for subsections where you'll be inserting paragraphs, your legal analysis. And as are in bar prep and are in a time crunch and don't have the luxury to write out full essays, you can use this trick of outlining essays to then use that for day of on the essays to add headings to your subsections. Next tip for day of is to work quickly, efficiently, and breathe. That was my mantra day of, just in my mind playing, work quickly, efficiently, and every once in a while reminding myself to breathe, because it's easy to get flustered and freak out as you hear clock ticking, the time is ticking, to have that analysis paralysis and not know how to continue. So as you recenter yourself, remind yourself to work quickly, efficiently, and also breathe. For example, on the day one of essays, which, confession, I actually ran out of time for, I think, at least one of the essays. I, of course, got caught up and spent too much time on the first two essays, so don't make that same mistake as I did. But try to devote the same amount of time for each essay. You get an hour per essay, although they don't time you per hour. It's a 4-hour block that you're given, and it's up to you as the test taker to structure your time. So as the hour is up for your first essay, gotta move on to the next one and the next one and the next one. So an hour per essay. Maybe if there's one that, as you review all the essay questions, there's one that you know will likely take you more time. If it's law, for example, then maybe you can work a little bit more quickly and efficiently on the other essays and devote a little bit more time on that question. You're done. You did it. Day one, day two are over, and now you're here. You've survived, you've come out on the other side, and now it's time to celebrate your great accomplishment. Even though results don't release for at least another few months, as we all know, California is notorious for being thorough and taking its time. Take this time after this huge accomplishment to say thank you to everyone who has supported you throughout this whole process, and also say thank you and be grateful for yourself. I know and I'm confident that you can do it, but if you ever have any questions or would like some more tips, feel free to reach out to me here. Again, my name is Leah. This is The Immigrant Lawyer. I'll see you next time.